We take 7, and boy, oh boy, if we don't find an untapped white source here, we are super dead. Oh my goodness, there it is. Thank heavens. Holy cow, folks. Greetings, everyone. I am glad that you are here, and I am glad to be here. Today's jank is back in Standard, and we've done a couple of control decks recently, and kind of trying to find a control pair that works in some of our regularly played arena formats here. That doesn't include blue, is actually kind of where we're going with this. Not that I have anything personally against blue, but, you know, I think it's strong right now, blue is, and I think that giving these other color combinations an opportunity sounds like a lot of fun. Today's color combination that we're trying out is Boros. Our control package, heavily tilted towards creatures. We are in best of 1, so we've got 8 main deck board sweepers and 4 Shatter the Skies, 4 Realm-Cloaked Giants. We then have Spikefield Hazards, Scorching Dragonfires, and Bonecrusher Giants as spot removal in the damage-based variety. We have Elspeth Conquers Death for both control and value. And then kind of rounding out the other control curve is actually these Skyclave Apparitions. I'm not super thrilled about them here because they are, you know, they give you the creature back when Skyclave Apparition dies, which means, yeah, okay, sometimes you know, our own board wipes will kill the Skyclave Apparition. But it's specifically in here because it is non-land, non-token permanent CMC 4 or less. So it does get some problematic permanents like Doom Foretold, like the opponent's Mazemind Tome. It does get things like, you know, just random things that our creature removal isn't going to be sweeping up. Obviously, Planeswalkers as well. There are a couple of them that need to be watched out for, such as Garruk and Nissa. Things like that. Liliana actually showing up some. So, definitely cards that Skyclave Apparition cleans up, that we can handle whatever XX token is left behind from Skyclave Apparition later. We just don't want to get run over by those really nasty cards there. Okay, so that's how we're handling the controlling side. What are we doing to try and win the game eventually? Well, we've got a little card advantage in Mazemind Tome, just raw card advantage. But we have our Bonecrusher Beats, which is always a nice backup plan. But more importantly, we have 3 Outlaws Merriment, 2 Felidar Retreat, a Basri Ket. Mainly, we're trying to get it to ultimate here, because it does ultimate relatively quickly, and if our opponent is in a very slow, dirtily, kind of do-nothing sort of plan, it can ultimate relatively quickly, and then if it ultimates, it wins relatively quickly as well. Also pairs pretty well with the Felidar Retreat as far as making a bunch of dudes, giving counters to the entire team, things like that. Or the Felidar Retreat and Outlaws Merriment just defending it, right? That also works. But then we also have Chandra, Heart of Fire as a way of just accruing card advantage, as well as just plussing, beating on the opponent's face or their creatures can be very efficient. Believe it or not, Realm-Cloaked Giant's 7/7 side. This is, of course, we're decking it for the cast-off, but the 7/7 Vigilance, boy oh boy, that will mess up your opponents should they give you the opportunity. So we're trying to control the board here and try and get something done that way. We also have land drops with the Emeria's Calls, but also a finisher as well. You'll note we are on the low side for lands, traditionally speaking, in a control deck, at 24, an average number to try and trick the arena client into not messing us up with the shuffler. But we do have our land count also padded by the MDFCs, 2 Emeria's Call, 4 Spikefield Hazard, meaning we do have access to as many as 30 lands. So that's a perfectly reasonable number. Almost forgot. We do have a 1 of Legion Angel, meaning we get 3 more on the side. This could be a 3rd Felidar Retreat, or even a 4th Outlaws Merriment potentially. But I think the evasion has value. And in the situations where we draw it, having a never-ending flow of Legion Angels for not actually, but pretty close to the rest of the game, is appealing. Okay, so what does this deck currently lack, you might be asking? And we currently don't have any real graveyard synergy at all. And with opponents trying to mill you out, traditionally speaking, you want to try and accrue some value out of the graveyard. So I haven't played any of the games yet. I'm recording this in advance, and then we're gonna be playing the games, and then I'll bring it back for the wrap up. But it could be that is a weak spot of this deck. So when you're watching the games, think with me on possible ways we could get some graveyard value in here. So if our opponent is milling things over, we're able to benefit from that. But also what cards maybe kind of are underperforming and what cards we might cut, because, darn it, whenever you add cards, you got to take them out, right? So without further ado, though, let's go and get some games in, shall we? All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is a pretty questionable keep. We're up against Wild. Good luck, Wild. I think we're actually going to hang on to this, believe it or not. Because we do need double white to be able to cast these, but we have interaction with, if our opponent's on a really aggressive thing, with the Spikefield Hazard. On turn 2, we get to Mazemind Tome and then Scry immediately, and and then on future turns, even draw extra cards to try and hit our white sources. So this could be greedy, but honestly, we have been forced to mulligan an awful lot here, and it hasn't been great, so kind of sick of mulliganing, you know what I mean? As it turns out, we do get a Needleverge Pathway off the top, which is very nice. We are going to scry rather than just draw. We don't need another Spikefield Hazard, so we bottom that. Definitely glad we scried. It's not as good as drawing a card, no question about it, but when you bottom one, it feels an awful lot like drawing a card, you know? So, opponent on... Ooh. Yeah. Lotus Cobra makes a red mana. And Bone crushes our face, sure. Well, we're going to just get rid of Lotus Cobra then. And draw a card. You got it. Temple of Triumph. That's not a bad one. Alright, so let's get that down. Scry. Do we need another land? No, I don't think so. I think we would rather make sure we keep hitting controlling spells. I'd really like to not have to use the Bonecrusher Giant this turn. I think it would have to be kind of an emergency for us to do that. Which there are plenty of them that it could be, right? But we really want to keep drawing cards with the Mazemind Tome. Just to make sure to keep up with card advantage against our opponent. All right. Another Boulderloft Pathway. It's a Felidar Retreat. Yep. We definitely want to get one of our exile creatures there. That is definitely the sort of thing we need. What is that card called? Skyclave Apparition. That is one of the... one of the permanents that we were concerned about and would like to make sure to take care of. With our Skyclave Apparition. Because that can get out of hand. For sure. Okay, so the opponent makes a pair of 2/2s and passes the turn. Hey, oh boy, yes please. Well, then we're going to go ahead and Outlaws Merriment. Make a mountain land drop and pass the turn. I think we are going to Bone Crush one of those little kittens there. It's a Scoot Swarm. Tell me it's not a fetch land. Okay, it's not. Okay, the opponent is making a kitten. All right, then I think we're going to go ahead and not Bone Crush. We're just going to take the extra 4. Because we have to, you know, we have to sweep the board because of the Scoot Swarms. No question about it. Okay. Alright, opponent wisely sniffing out the board sweeper. But there was no reason for us to not try. And we're just going to go ahead and kill all of our opponent's things and pass the turn. Your go, Wild. Your go. Opponent makes a Felidar Retreat. Dude. Exiles a card with Valakut Exploration. Cultivates. I seriously doubt our opponent's going to want to fire off that Shatter the Sky. Yep. Gets a Lotus Cobra off the top, makes a 2/2, plays the Lotus Cobra. We take a damage, and the Shatter the Sky goes away. Yep. Hey! We have a Felidar Retreat now. Alright, let's go. So yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and do the less mana efficient play of Cast Off. Because we don't need the 3rd mana. We're not going to run out of Bonecrusher Giant here. So all we would need for instant speed interaction is just the Bonecrusher Giants anyway, right? And some, you know, in the future, we may want that extra mana efficiency. Our opponent just getting all kinds of value off of their enchantments. I wonder if we were supposed to do Valakut Exploration. It is possible. All right. Opponent just takes it. Sure. Well, let's Felidar Retreat then. Make a 2/2. And pass the turn. I think this is fine. If our opponent wants to attack with a Bonecrusher Giant, we will trade by shooting it with a Bonecrusher Giant of our own and blocking with the kitten, of course. Opponent having to decide here. Oh, wow. Gives the counter. Okay. Sure. Opponent hard casts Emeria's Call. That was a very fortuitous top deck for our opponent. But, you know, it's what it is, right? Take a few damages down to 19, and the opponent passes. Creatures still indestructible over there. Not a good feeling. So we're just going to go ahead and hold off, no attacks. These angels are a problem, folks. They are a problem indeed. Because we do get to Shatter the Sky, but the fact that we couldn't this turn, just very problematic. I wonder if we're supposed to have more of those Skyclave Apparitions. Because these Felidar Retreats have been eating our lunch, and being able to handle those would have been very, very nice indeed. Field of Ruin. Sure. Yeah. We chump. Take 12. Down to 7. But back up to 9. And the Field of Ruin goes away. Sure. We drop to 8. We make a 2/1 lifelink, which we're going to get in with. The opponent clearly sniffing out a board sweeper here. They have to be. Indeed. But there's also no reason to not gain the life, you know? Like, whether or not we're telegraphing a play is irrelevant when, you know, you've got to... You've also got to balance that against playing the cards you're dealt, right? So, let's... I guess just Needleverge Pathway, get a 2/2. And pass the turn. It's a Scoot Swarm. Sure. Yep. Alright, then we're just going to go ahead and shoot Scoot Swarm A. And Scoot Swarm B. Take our damage. Make our dude. Play some creatures. Give our stuff counters and vigilance and swing in. See what our opponent chooses to do here. Alright, as expected, they kind of chump. Well, we're just gonna Bone Crush, because of course our dude does have trample, so the damage does go through. Now our opponent does have a card remaining, and they've shown us board sweepers in the past. Shatter the Sky, right? So it's not outside the realm of possibilities that they have an... Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. Alright, well that's fine. This is kind of what we were expecting. Alright. So, Realm-Cloaked Giant, Bonecrusher Giant, Temple of Triumph, Basri Ket. That's actually a good one. Drop our opponent down to 8, ladies and gentlemen. We will need a way to give, like, Vigilant, or Trample and stuff, which we don't have, I don't even think, in the deck. Oh, no, the opponent gets a Shatter the Sky? That's unfortunate. Yeah, there's really no reason for them to not do that. But the Basri Ket is good. We are pleased about that. So let's... Basri Ket. Make a dude. Buff our 3/2 and get in. And then we're going to pass. We're planning on making a token here, I think. There are plenty of cards that would be really bad for us. Believe it or not, something like a Cultivate would just be terrible off the top for us. But even just a land gives them 3 creatures. That is not ideal. Well... yeah, Roiling Regrowth, a classic example of one of the cards we did not want to see, right? Yep. 6 triggers from the Felidar Retreats, and 2 triggers from Valakut Exploration. It's a pair of fetch lands. Yeah, that's... each of those represent additional triggers. Our opponent down to 24 cards in library, for the record. Yep, and the Fabled Passage cracks. Yep, 3 more Felidar Retreat triggers, and another Valakut Exploration trigger. Another Roiling Regrowth. All right. Good lord, folks. It's got to be running out of lands in their deck. Oh, they do. They only had 1 more land to get. Basic land, as it were. So I assume that Cultivate's dead anyway. They can cast it, but... All right, all those cards go to the bin. We lose some lives. I mean, we're going to make a dude because that's the correct thing to do. I don't know what would give us the idea that we ought to cast that, but, you know. So let's go up, give our 3/2 indestructible, and just attack with everybody. As expected, our opponent does not fall for any shenanigans. So we're just going to go ahead, Shatter the Sky. Opponent gets to draw a card, as do we. Our creature, though, indestructible. And we're going to get down a second Outlaws Merriment. Our opponent on 5 lives, 17 cards in the library, and no basic lands in the deck. Wow, they do draw an MDFC. That is unfortunate. Valakut Exploration happens. Cultivate, which is dead. A 2/2. A 2/2. And a 2/2. Bonecrusher hits our face. Sure. Gets added to the field. And passes? Alright, well. We're going to Scorching Dragonfire, the Bonecrusher Giant. And the 2/2. A 2/2. We're going to make some dudes. Sure. Go up on the 3/1 trample. And get in with everybody. Yeah, I don't think that's going to do it, opponent, because we have trample, and holy crud, folks, that was a wild game. And it was an honor to be certain. For a while there, we were pretty concerned. Did not draw into our Skyclave Apparitions like we had wanted to get rid of these Felidar Retreats. And the Valakut Exploration also really putting in work there, making me kind of question whether or not we could have spared a spot for a Valakut Exploration. But as it is, we were able to bring out the win. Thank heavens. Good game, Wild. Good game. I absolutely approve of your nonsense. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are up against Lucas Lara, and man, MDFCs have really changed the way you look at hands, don't you? I mean, you look at this one-lander, and obviously it's a throw it back instantly, but no, this is a keeper, I think. We get to start with Spikefield Hazard and progress into Plains and probably Mazemind Tome, depending on whether or not we feel like we need to leave up Bonecrusher Giant, which we probably need to do. That is a shame. This is one of those matchups where Spikefield Hazard we'd really like to be using as a removal spell, but heavens knows you cannot just keep missing land drops against the mono red deck either, so do what you do, and what we do is try not to die. All right, our opponent taking a Plains off the top. No, we needed that. All right. Well, yeah, I guess we are just going to leave up Bonecrusher Giant here. We did draw a land, so now I feel like we can fire off the Spikefield Hazard if necessary. NX Hardened in the Forge. Okay, so in response to that, we are going to kill the Robber of the Rich. So our opponent doesn't get a free 1/1 off of it. We do need to draw another white source for these Shatter the Skies. It will be imperative that we do not just allow our opponent to run rampant. We are already in a situation where next turn we may die to, well, not actually, well, maybe actually die, but and at least figuratively die. And we don't want that to happen. So no Torbran? Oh, Torbran. All right, well, We're going to Spikefield Hazard that Fervent Champion. Get it out. There is no additional 1/1 that gets made because the creature is exiled. It doesn't die. We take 7, and boy, oh boy, if we don't find an untapped white source here, we are super dead. Oh my goodness, there it is. Thank heavens. Holy cow, folks. Holy cow. All right, so the opponent does get to make 3 1/1s, which is not ideal. Things like Embercleave and stuff are still in the deck. Our opponent also has 4 Torbrowns, almost certainly. So, or I mean, at least 3 Torbrowns. So, another Torbrown in hand would have been disastrous as well. As it stands, we're still not in good shape. This Robber of the Rich coming in. A really scary Magic card. Rimrock Knight coming down as well. All right, well, opponent just trying to get the cards out of hand. Chandra, Heart of Fire. Scry. We're actually going to leave that. I think we need it. Shatter the Sky. Yeah, this is scary, folks. We're at 3 against the burn deck, you know? Okay, here's Torbrown. Again. Alright, well, let's scry. Do we want a land? No, I don't think so. I think we need to keep drawing into more removal-y type stuff. Let's just scry, I guess. We do get to gain the 4 life. Very important. No, we're going to get rid of that too. We could get down a Bonecrusher Giant and try and just block the Torbrown or whatever. But I don't think that's wise. I think we just need to shatter. Scry. Emeria's Call can go away. Need to keep hitting control, folks. We're pretty close to stable here, if not maybe even actually stable, depending on what's in our opponent's hand. But, all right. Yes. Okay. This is great news. We are very pleased about all of this. That one. And we're gonna allow our opponent to believe. Okay. Yep. And we're just going to take it for now. It does not feel good. We are not happy about it. But, going to drop a Bonecrusher Giant. And we are going to hold off on the Skyclave Apparition just in case they have hasty creatures. Yeah, I mean, we're absolutely going to snap this off. Our opponent can have a shock or something, but that shock could go to our face, right? Oh, the Embercleave! Oh, my word. That is a terrifying Magic card. All right, definitely need to hold back and block. Lots of hasty creatures that can come out of our opponent's hand there. Just a mountain. Okay, that may be the turn we needed. No guarantees, but that may be the turn we needed. Lucas Laura, very displeased about that, I'm sure. Mono Red doesn't like getting to 6 mana. Now, admittedly, we have drawn the game out for a really, really long time. So they don't traditionally like going to, you know, whatever, turn 7 or turn 8 either. But I'm sure from their perspective, they're flooding out a little bit. Which is not great. Not great at all. And I can empathize to a certain extent with that. We really want the life-linking rogue here. That's the one we want. Okay, that's the worst one, actually. The worst one. I mean, normally it's pretty good, and we don't even mind getting this against mono-red opponents or whatever. Oh, thank heavens. That is fantastic. Okay, so we really wanted this card. Almost, I think every single one of their hasty creatures can be killed by Scorching Dragonfire here. So it allows us to get in with all of our creatures and actually get a clock on Lucas Lara. We can't just sit around at 4 life against the burn deck, right? They're going to draw a couple of shocks and Bonecrusher Giants and things, and then we'll die, right? Okay. Robber of the Rich getting equipped. Getting scorched. 3-1, 3-1. And yeah, we're just going to get in like so. We don't have any more control here, folks. All right, so yep. Fair enough. That is GG. Folks, that is GG. Holy cow, that was a close one. I mean, that's what... If you've ever been curious about the terminology stabilizing, this is a classic example where the control deck will get beat down in the early game and will lose some number of games before you get to stabilize. We got to stabilize here at a very, very low life total, which makes it exciting. We'll go with exciting because, holy crud, at any point, our opponent could have drawn a couple of burn spells and we just would have died, right? But that's what we're looking for. So, GG, Lucas Lara, GG. All right, folks, here we are up against Dark Bees. Good luck, Dark Bees. We're going to keep this hand. 4-landers are always a little tenuous. But on the draw, it's not so bad because at least that way you don't get stuck on lands. And when you have a 4-lander with a scry, though, it at least helps make sure you don't flood as bad either. We did just have the opportunity to bottom a land, so there we go. Well, okay. How about another Temple of Triumph? It's possible we were supposed to leave up Scorching Dragonfire here, I guess. Our opponent very well may be on rogues, so we might have wanted to be able to Scorch the 1-mana black creature there, whatever that's called. Yeah, I think we're going to send that away. We would rather have, I don't know, one of our other... Yeah, there it is. Thieves Guild Enforcer. Yeah. Indeed. And the Soaring Thought Thief. Ay, ay, ay. That is problematic, folks. We're just going to get rid of the Soaring Thought Thief right now. We don't want it coming back either, so just kill that fella. We're on 7 cards in the bin. If our opponent can cast a rogue pre-combat, the Thieves Guild Enforcer becomes very large. Template Seat coming on down, going to scry. And a Merfolk Wind Robber, sure enough. Admittedly, it is a blue land or a blue rogue, so at least our opponent won't be able to counterspell our Shatter the Sky, and we go to fire it off. But make no mistake, folks, we are not pleased about this turn of events. Opponent gets a compensation card by sacrificing Merfolk Wind Robber. Nighthawk Scavenger is a 7/3. Good heavens. Well, we're just going to go ahead. Elspeth Conquers Death it. Yep. This does give us an opportunity to return just a Bonecrusher Giant to the battlefield, but that's hardly the end of the world. How about a Basri Ket, opponents? If they have a 2-mana counterspell, yeah, they can tap out for it, indeed. But now we can get back the Basri Ket with Elspeth Conquers Death, if that is a better situation. And I think it is. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Comes back with a counter. Goes up a loyalty counter. We are going to go ahead and just make a dude. Now, our opponent very well may have a way of killing Basri right now. Nope, just returning it? Okay. Yeah, that's annoying, but it's fine. They can't actually cast the other half of Brazen Borrower right now, so it's just not that big of a deal. Nighthawk Scavenger. Alright, sure. Let's see here. Basri Ket. Opponent. Looked like they were doing math here. They may be able to counterspell our Realm-Cloaked Giant, which is problematic. But we're trying to get him to tap out. Sure. Okay. That is actually not a big deal at all. Because, yeah, we're going to snap off the cast off and get rid of these Nighthawk Scavengers. These fellas are, whew, annoying. No question about it. Alright, so Spikefield Hazard. Gonna kill that fella. And then, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and make a dude. Get a counter on it and still have interaction up in the form of a Bonecrusher Giant. So that turn worked out quite well indeed, I think. And don't forget, folks, the whole reason we have a Basri Ket, this is not an aggressive deck. You normally want Basri Ket to try to be helping you scoot additional damage and things like that with your aggressive deck, right? That's not why it's here. It's only a one-of, but it's here because it gets to ultimate relatively quickly. If they can't kill Basri Ket this turn, it ultimates next turn, and that ultimate will win the game in a relatively short period of time. And of course, once the ultimate's actually on battlefield, it is unable to be interacted with. Alright, Zara-san, coming on down. Blood Chief's Thirst. Come on, man. Ugh. How annoying. Yep. Really thought we were going to get the ultimate off there. Feels bad. Realm-Cloaked Giant coming on down. Praying our opponent doesn't have more removal. They very well may. Maybe it was better to hold back the Bell token, just in case they could remove the Realm-Cloaked Giant so they don't actually get a Realm-Cloaked Giant of their own. I mean, we're going to block in a heartbeat here. Okay. Alright, well, fine. Yeah, folks, this is really annoying. The opponent gets our Felidar Retreat, or even Basri Ket. They could even get the Elspeth Conquers Death. They just have a ton of really, really good options. Yeah. It is the Elspeth Conquers Death, which feels so bad. But alas, it is what it is. Skyclave Apparition is actually pretty good against our opponent's deck in the abstract. Opponent trying to decide what to do about it. They choose to go for the Brazen Borrower. Alright, well, I guess we're just going to destroy all non-giant creatures. I'm not thrilled about that, but it is what it is. Non-creature spells cost more for us. Sure. Opponent gonna pass. We're gonna pass. We're gonna make a land drop. Gonna pass. Opponent gets to do some things, presumably. Yep. They don't cast Brazen Borrower on end step. Wow. That is kind of astonishing to me. All right, Nighthawk Scavenger. Coming back with Evasion, gets a counter going up to a 9/4. How about a Skyclave Apparition? Opponent, how do you feel about that? That's the one. When the Skyclave Apparition leaves, they get a 3/3. But I think that's okay. Brazenbauer coming on down. Let's just Spikefield Hazard right now. Opponent cracks the Fabled Passage, sure. This is kind of why we wanted to do it right now. They might just be going for the second Brazenbauer, right? But if they want to fight over it, we want to fight while their mana is constricted. And normally that means fighting on your opponent's turn so you can constrict their mana on the following turn. But as it is, they've already got mana tapped, right? It is, in fact, just another Brazenbauer is all. Well, that's fine by us. We're going to kill that one too. And pass the turn. Opponent 3 cards in hand to our 2 cards in hand. We do have a couple of cards in exile, which is nice. Gives us some action to fall back on. All right. Realm-Cloaked Giant coming down. It is a 7/7 Vigilance. The opponent has the Lofty Denial. Feels bad. Well, how about Bonecrusher Giant? Opponent has another Lofty Denial. Holy crud, folks. That felt real bad, not gonna lie. But our opponent is now empty-handed. They have a Drown on the lock. Okay. Opponent gets their 3/3. Gets in for 2, mills us for 2. We're going to follow that up with a Realm-Cloaked Giant so that we can follow it up with a 7/7 Vigilance in case our opponent has something else. But it also gives us the opportunity to... we still get to make a token, right? Now, if we weren't able to make the token, we might have fired off the Shatter the Sky, potentially. Because I do think it's important to try and make sure we are still doing things, right? Combat. Yep, get in. Sure. Yeah. We are going to fire this off. We're going to hold on to the land here. Just in case we draw a Felidar Retreat, we would really like to have a land to follow it up with. As a matter of fact, I think we've got enough lands in play now that we are likely to just kind of keep doing that thing. Going to Shock. And Bonecrusher. And pass. Opponent, 2 cards in hand. Another removal spell. It's a Drown on the lock. Opponent going to pay 2 life for the pleasure of killing Bonecrusher Giant. Down to 8. Are you going to advance your board in some way, opponent? It appears the answer is no, so we're going to Castle Ardenvale. Pass the turn. Hey, there we go. Felidar Retreat? Oh, boy. How about that? We're going to go counters and vigilance this time. Because our opponent suddenly, on a 2-turn clock, we have the ability to both answer a threat and make another 1/1 as well. So feels good, man. Feels good. We were able to bring home the win. Thank heavens. That was looking really bleak. Oh, boy. I think it may have come back to that turn where they hit us with Zareth San and they went after Elspeth Conquers Death. I'm not even saying that's the wrong play, but I think that was the turn that decided the game. They were trying to go for a little more of a tempo play and use their evasion against us, and I think that was probably wrong. We would have had a much harder time getting rid of Felidar Retreat So if they had gone for Felidar Retreat and just made every land in their deck gas and every spell in their deck a spell, I think we might have really struggled, and maybe we still would have won because our deck is kind of more built for the long game than theirs. But oh boy, it would have been interesting to be certain. Either way, good game, Dark Bees. Good game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are back looking at the deck, and I think it was okay. It was okay. We had a situation, we had a really, really bad mulligan and ended up losing. But then every other game we played, we were actually pretty in it. And all things considered, there were some really, really cool games in there. I don't think there was ever a game where I was just like, yeah, we don't, you know, we're stone cold. We don't have a shot. We played against a black-white control deck that we ended up losing to, but holy cow, that could not have been a closer game. I think if we had chosen to deck Ugin, we maybe even would have won that game and possibly even won the game handily. Our opponent did deck Ugin, and, you know, we got punished for it. Faced off against some rogues and stuff. You know, those were interesting games. Still not sure what to do about graveyard value. Definitely let me know in the comments below. Okay, for the record, the elephant in the room is, would this deck be better with Ugin in it? Probably. If you're looking to win as many games as possible, probably include Ugin. I have something personally against Ugin because it's a colorless threat that just tops out every single deck, and it annoys me personally. If you're going to get a bunch of lands into play, here, take this card, play this card. It's almost like Craterhoof Behemoth. Oh, you're going to have a lot of creatures? Here, Craterhoof Behemoth. Or, you know, you're going to, you know, whatever. You're going to reanimate something in an older format? Here's Emrakul the Aeon's Torn or Grizzlebrand. Oh, no, I want to reanimate this other really cool card from way back. Or even brand new, really cool. Why? Why would you do that? These two are clearly the best. So when there is something that is so head and shoulders better than everything else at a mana cost, it is kind of annoying. But I'm not necessarily against Grizzlebrand or Craterhoof Behemoth or something like that, because at least there are color restrictions. Ugin specifically is a colorless card. So every time you have lots of lands, Ugin is the answer. So yes, okay. The elephant in the room, if we were to include 1 or 2 Ugins, maybe even as many as 3 Ugins, yeah, this deck is probably better. Maybe even by a lot, right? But it's just not a thing I've chosen to do because I live my life differently, darn it. But that said, other than suggesting Ugin, right, let me know down below. I have a Twitch stream, and every day we put these YouTube videos up on YouTube. Then that night I stream. The only exception is I take Saturdays off. But that night I stream, and you can make suggestions that will influence this deck that we play on stream, and we play on stream for 4 hours, right? So definitely let me know how you feel like this deck ought to be built. Now, admittedly, I don't take every piece of advice. If you're going to want to add cards, please let me know what cards you might take out in favor of it, because that's going to be key information for me. You certainly have a perspective that I don't have. Maybe your perspective is right. Maybe it's not, but maybe your perspective is right and I just don't understand. We're all human. So let me know. This is how decks get refined. Lots of people working together to do something cool, and I think this deck can be cool. So please, for sure, let me know, and then, you know, we'll go through it together on stream tonight. That said, I think it's also important to like the video and, you know, subscribe and all that kind of stuff, because that's how YouTube knows to recommend my content. And, you know, okay, yeah, if you don't like it, don't hit the like button. But if you did, it really helps me out as a human being to just push that little button. It doesn't take any time, and I do appreciate it. So other than that, I will catch you all later.